Predator Killer of Killers, the movie that came out a good while ago now, and of course I reviewed and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It had issues, and the ending was definitely a few issues with that, but we know how the movie ended. Spoiler if you didn't, but it ends with us seeing a cameo of Naru, the character from Prey, being in stasis. Now, all of a sudden after that, art director or someone came out with designs for Mike Harrigan, the Danny Glover character. In fact, they did do concept art for him because they pitched the idea of, well, should we put them in there? Shouldn't we have him and Dutch? And of course, they didn't put it in there. They decided against that, so it ended simply on Naru, which again brought around the question of what time period are we up to now? Because we have the Second World War guy being taken, put into stasis and brought out, but we don't actually know, and we're not told how long he was in stasis for. So you were kind of like, well, are they in the 90s? Are they still back in the 40s? Are we further in the head? We didn't know. Now they've decided to release an extended edition already, and they've added in not just Mike Harrigan but Dutch, and they have released this on Disney Plus or Hulu. So it's saying here, as writer-director Dan Trachtenberg took to the stage in All Age at San Diego Comic-Con to talk about the upcoming Predator Badlands, fans in attendance had the chance to see an extended version of the end of Predator Killer of Killers, which as of 7 p.m. PT will now be added to the animated feature on Hulu. And it said, the new footage functions as a credit scene to the movie, which originally ended on a cameo of Amber Midthunder's Naru from Prey, as one of the human warriors captured and frozen by the Predators. Now, the camera continues to pan right, first revealing Danny Glover's Lieutenant Mike Harrigan, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger's Dutch, who originated the franchise. And this is actually what we see. This is that actual extended ending. So this is what you now see. So yeah, originally the camera went up to Naru and stayed there, and that's where the credits rolled. Now they've decided the camera comes up and then moves to the side, and we see Harrigan and then we see Dutch. And it's saying here, speaking at San Diego Comic-Con, Dan Trachtenberg explained how he spoke to Arnold Schwarzenegger about continuing to use Dutch. And he said, I recently had a little breakfast with Arnold, and super self-confessed, we talked a lot about the things we could make together, and he was very kind to approve his cameo in this. And we can now continue to cook up things that may be in store for that guy. Now here's the thing, regarding Dutch, even Mike Harrigan, you would have to assume it would be in animated form and only animated form, because as you can clearly see in the images and the footage and stuff, it's the young version of Dutch and the young version of, you know, as young as they were when they did the movies, of Mike Harrigan. None of these people have said they were coming back to the franchise, especially Danny Glover. Nobody has ever heard Danny Glover saying he even had interest in ever coming back to the franchise. Giving the okay to put in this cameo of this drawing basically of Dutch and stuff, okay, that is what it is. That doesn't mean Schwarzenegger's like, yeah, keep using Dutch and I'll come back and I'll voice him, and maybe in the movies I'll come back. Because there's interesting questions now and confusing questions that are now being raised by this extended edition of this movie. One is, are we meant to look at this now as canon? Because this is not the movie they originally put out. This ending was not there. So you have to look at it from a point of view of, if you had this ready to go, you would have used that, but you didn't. So that's not the ending you wanted people to see. What you put out the first time is the ending you wanted people to see. That's the ending you agreed on. Therefore, that one has to be the canon. But Predator Hunting Ground, the game that reintroduced Dutch, an older, grizzled Dutch, that thing is actually supposed to be canon. The story that's in that is meant to be canon. So now you have this thing of, okay, Killer of Killers originally ended with just showing Naru. So that would be the canon to the Predator universe. Now you've added this in. Are you trying to tell us this ending now is canon? And if this is canon, well, it goes against the game that the story is said to be canon. Quite frankly, putting this in now is, to be honest, it's dumb. It's dumb and it's lazy. And I think it's a sign of desperation. And why do I say that? I think this movie is not performing as well on Hulu as they were expecting it to. I think Prey probably has outshone it by a lot. And I think they went, we need something to bring people in to actually get eyes on this thing and boost our numbers. And they panicked and went, I know, let's put Dutch and Mike Harrigan in the end. Let's change the ending and let's go with the one we obviously discussed but decided not to use. That's the only reason I can think that they did this. This isn't a, oh, we have plans to use these in the future. I think this is the case of, we needed to bolster our numbers and this is the only way we could think to do it, was to add these two characters into it. Because again, when you're looking at it from a point of view of, well, which version are we supposed to take now as canon? They're not answering that question. It's like, well, this was the ending, but now we're going to change it on Hulu. So this is the ending you're going to get. That's going to annoy people. There'll be people who get excited and go, ooh, great. But the majority of people will be kind of like my reaction here, which is, this is just dumb. Like, why didn't you do that the first time around? And I think you're going to see a lot of pushback to the considering people might actually not even bother to watch it. I know there's a lot of people who didn't bother to watch it. I saw people in my own comment section saying halfway into this movie couldn't get past the first story because of the girl boss crap. That type of thing is what you were pushing, and people were like, no, I'm out. So again, that's why I think this is also like, we need to try and convince people to watch it. There's the clip. So it's not exactly like you're getting this massive reveal of, oh my god, Dutch is back and he's out there kicking ass already. No, that's not what we're being shown at all. This is kind of like, people might try and compare it to what George Lucas did. Which say, oh, well, George Lucas changed Star Wars because it's how he actually envisioned it. George Lucas added things to Star Wars that he originally wanted in there, but didn't have the technology or the money to do so. Yes, he then went overboard and just started adding crap for the sake of adding crap, such as Darth Vader saying no to the Emperor, killing Luke, which, quite frankly, is dumb. And of course, changing Anakin from old Anakin to young Anakin in the Force Ghost moment. The pushback against that part in particular was people saying like, what the hell would you do that for? That's clearly not the ending you ever wanted. The ending you wanted was the ending you gave us. Same question will be with this. It's like, the ending you clearly wanted was to end with Naru. Yeah, you had the concept and stuff there to use Mike Harrigan and Dutch, but you didn't. But now you are. Why? It's clearly yous are desperate to just get people to view this thing. That's the only reason I feel that they put that in there. But again, the question has to be asked, which are we supposed to look at as canon? It's going to be interesting, and quite frankly, it's getting a bit messy and confusing now. So we'll have to wait and see. Quite frankly, I don't think this film is pulling in the views that they were expecting. And I think Badlands is probably going to flop. So I don't think the future is all that bright for Predator under Dan Trachtenberg and Disney anyway. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. And with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So like, share, subscribe and all that good stuff. Cheers. I'll catch you in the next one.